everyone, Mark and Joey here with our NBA show for this week, and we're doing it Thursday rather than Wednesday because last night was Kawhi night in Toronto. We wanted to cover that as it was happening more, and so we're going here on Thursday, typically our Wednesday show. But Joey, also want to mention the website, ultimatesportschannel.com, as we've talked about before, but for new viewers, a full feed every day, 50 posts on everything that's happening in sports, on all the major sports, even including soccer, which we don't talk much about because we don't know much about it, although there's one thing this week I do want to talk about. But anyway, we're going into, go there every morning, see all these posts. You get to see the whole website. Lots of other good stuff there, like specials from our sponsors and things like that. So take a look at the ultimatesportschannel.com every morning and see what's happening in the world of sports. Like I said, we got a complete sports feed there. Joey, but last night, special in the NBA, special in Toronto. The return of Kawhi, getting his ring, all those kinds of things. Getting love from Toronto again. I think enough that he almost wishes he stayed.
Yeah, I mean, I think the score, unfortunately, didn't help our cause in that one, but I'm sure he's happy to be home in California. I know it's a lot warmer there now than it is in Canada, so he really felt the change, I'm sure, by showing up to play the Raptors in December here. But yeah, it was a great ceremony. They gave him a great video. His sponsor put a big billboard saying thank you to Toronto. So it was a good night overall. The Clippers went out and actually destroyed the Raptors, though, unfortunately, for Raptors fans. But very, very cool. Got his ring. Cool ceremony. All the players were there to support him. And the crowd cheered him on, as they should. I think that was great that they did that instead of booing, because obviously he did bring us our first championship ever. And really, in the city, a first championship in a long time for a major sports team. So it was a great night still overall, despite the loss for the Raptors.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, the game itself didn't really make as much a difference as Kawhi coming back. Toronto fans are fantastic fans. We've known that. They've never been the kind to get down on somebody because they left. They've proven that over years in other sports as well. But what a special night. The crowds were insane. Unfortunately, Jurassic Park couldn't be that big because I think it was minus 20 or something, but typical of winter in Toronto. But anyway, it was great to see. Like you say, the game really didn't matter, although it would have been nice to see the Raptors beat them, because we've kind of been saying all along the Raptors are probably as good without them as they were with them last year because of the young talent. They've had a pretty good start to the season, 16-8 I think it is. So, but it would have been great to great to win that game last night, but it didn't happen. We are looking forward to getting through the season. Pretty much know where people are going to finish. We know that who's going to be in playoffs or not. We know the Raptors are going to be there. We know the Clippers are going to be there. It would be awesome if they met at some point in the playoffs, which would have to be the finals. So we'd enjoy seeing that. Kawhi, though, the guy is pure class. Really is.
Well, yeah, I don't know what you mean by that, but yeah, he had no reason not to be classy last night. I mean, we was celebrating him, so, yeah, I mean, he did a good job. But, I mean, he didn't do anything really special besides the billboard, which is cool by his sponsor, I guess. But, yeah, I mean, it was celebrating him, so he had nothing to kind of be upset about or anything like that. We obviously treated him properly, so, we gave him 2.1 million fans at our parade, and he gave us a couple big moments for sure. I do always think that the other players should get more respect than just Kawhi Leonard winning this championship. But yeah, from Kawhi's standpoint, I mean, really he just got lucky with the crowd because of what he brought to us, and that's fine, and it was a good game. And I think the biggest thing is it's over for the Raptors. They can officially move on, and they need to get something going as they've struggled a lot lately. So that's probably the biggest thing here is finally some closure, I think, for both the player and the team. More so the team in the city, who still obviously had love for him even when he left because of the championship ring that he brought to Toronto.
Well, actually, what I mean by class is, guys can come in and not look enthusiastic, get his ring. He left the city. He was very complimentary again last night about the city. Talked the city up a lot about how he felt about being here. This is the kind of stuff that not everybody does, and I think he really showed he enjoyed his time here. He really loved the fans for what they did for him, and I think it's pure class. He was really good at getting the celebration. Really special moment between him and Lowry, which was a magical unit as they went through last year. So I thought that was great, on Lowry's part. But Leonard just showed pure joy in getting his ring and coming back to Toronto. I thought that was very classy. We get to see a lack of class on lots of athletes, so I think it's great to see a guy do that well.
I don't think there's ever an athlete who is at the top of their sport, been traded for 1 year, won the championship, and then left. So it's definitely a unique situation. I mean, yeah, he definitely obviously talked nice about the city, which is grateful. But I think part of it is obviously we gotta give ourselves credit as people in Canada that we treat him so well that he really had nothing. You could have nothing bad to say besides the fact that our weather is bad, and really that's the only reason why he left. So but yeah, it worked out great. He was complimentary to the team, the fans, and the city. He definitely has helped the city a lot, bringing 20 ESPN games there last year, and obviously a ton of notice there. Although, unfortunately, to the NBA fans of Toronto, who maybe not live in Toronto, we have been automatically pushed right off the scale of the ESPN games, which is kind of funny. If you don't have a star, they don't care. But for that 1 year, I mean, he did bring a lot of stuff, and even afterwards is great. But really, I mean, I give a shout out to our fans because it's obviously different if we took it a different way, but we took it for what it was. And it was always meant to be probably a 1 year thing. He made it 1 year thing and he won, so it worked out great.
Yeah, exactly. So good to see him back last night. Like I say, a big celebration for Toronto fans. Big memory of winning the championship last year. So very excited to see what happened when he came back to town. And we're looking at the Rewind show here the last week, and the big story in basketball, besides Kawhi going to Toronto, was Milwaukee winning 16 straight games now. But Giannis hurt, and this could change everything.
Yeah, I mean, it's nothing too serious. He'll be back in no time. I mean, it's probably more of a rest thing as much as an injury. It's one of those injuries that just has to come when you're that big, playing at the level he's playing. And he's not really someone who's doing the little management thing, so he's been playing a lot of minutes as well throughout this winning streak. And, the winning streak isn't surprising to me. Everyone knew Milwaukee's probably the best team in the East. Last year, except for Kawhi shutting him down, and even this year, I mean, if anything, he got better, he got bigger, he got stronger. He worked on his jump shot a little bit. So, obviously, Milwaukee being the best team in the East right now, going on this winning streak, is not surprising. I mean, there's literally probably 12 teams that can't even come within 10 points of these guys. And really, they have 4 tough teams to play throughout the season, really in the Eastern Conference for them. And then they don't go out west very often. So, they are obviously the juggernaut of the East right now, and it's really their conference to lose. People thought that last year, and you could devise a strategy in the playoffs, but for one game a night, they're going to have the advantage, and they'll definitely be the number 1 seed in the East. And this is nothing surprising, especially when their star decides that he wants to play more than anyone else really out there right now. He's not looking to load manage. He's not looking to take time off in the game. So it's impressive stuff for sure, but definitely not unexpected or surprised.
Yeah, and really for him, he's averaging 30.9 points per game. He's obviously showing MVP type talent out there right now.
Definitely. It's definitely what we thought out of him for sure.
We want to talk a little bit about here, and the stories about the Knicks, and the stories about coaching, and the stories about the potential of first woman head coach in the NBA. They are talking and talking on the coaching side, but we did hear from Charles Barkley, who is always a top contributor to the basketball world, that he's telling Becky Harmon she should not take the job. That in fact it's probably just not good for her reputation. But you know what? They need to have the first woman basketball coach. I'm glad the Knicks are reaching out. I think she's crazy not to take it, man. You got to take these opportunities when you get.
I actually think she's smart not to take it. I think it becomes. I really respect her decision not to just jump on it because she'd be the first woman head coach. I actually respect that more than if she just took it for the sake of the fact she'd be able to make history this way. I think it's actually quite a good look on her, I think, to go, okay, just because I'm a woman, I'm not just going to take maybe the worst job in the NBA right now, where you're going to get roasted by the media. And really, the New York Knicks, I feel like, would be using it as a public thing. Unfortunately for her, because that's the way the Knicks are right now. They're so horrible. They constantly fire coaches. They need something to be talked about besides how bad the owner is, and that's what the owner's thinking. He's trying to take the news off of him. So if she doesn't take it, which it doesn't sound like she will, I actually respect her a lot for that. I think she should wait for a better opportunity. From what I hear, obviously she's a great coach. Greg Popovich, one of the greatest coaches of all time, is one who hired her as his assistant. So he's not joking around in who he hires, so he obviously hired her. I truthfully would respect her more by not taking it, because you have to know the Knicks are using it to take away from how bad the team is and from what the owner's done to this team. And it's a hostile situation. It's a bad situation. Barkley knows it. That's why he's giving her advice. And I'd wait for something better. I think there's going to be a time where there is a first woman head coach, but there's probably a better opportunity than the Knicks right now.
Well, I think that's accurate as well. I think it's just an opportunity. I think there's two things that happen. One is there is an opportunity to do well or do better in New York. It's obviously a high-profile job. I think there's a lot of opportunity for her to show her skills and going in there. So we'll see what happens there. But like I say, varying opinions on whether she should jump in or not jump in, whether she get another opportunity. Maybe she knows there's something else coming down the line here in having talked to teams. So we'll see what transpires there. Charles Barkley, though, like I say, one of the vocal guys in basketball, disagrees with her or trying to tell her not to go there, just like you're talking about.
Yeah, it's not that she's even decided to go. She's just been offered the job. So people are trying to help her out. I think it's not going to be the last open job position in the world. It's not going to be the last team that's looking for something different.
Right.
So I think it's just something that it is the Knicks, and the Knicks are horrible. They're hostile. They'll make it about her, which will be wrong. And the owner is trying to do that as far as I'm concerned, because it's right now about the owner and how bad he is. So it just feels like it's probably not the best situation with the New York media. I'd personally take a better situation somewhere down the line, which I'm sure will open up in the sports world and basketball world of late that fire coaches like crazy. So
well, there's no doubt about that. So we'll see what happens. An interesting story. They're looking forward to the first woman head coach in NBA. I think it's going to be historic and lead to more. So we'd like to see that happen one of these days for sure. And whether it's the Knicks job or the next job that has that possibility. So we'll see what transpires there. But anyway, we want to go back to the NBA. One of the most controversial stories that came up was the infamous dunk shot. And the NBA has not granted the protest. So everything's going to stand as it is.
Yeah, thank God. It was the dumbest thing I've ever heard of. So a basket got taken away from you. Like, how often does that happen? There's 7 minutes and 50 seconds to go in the game. It's ridiculous. I mean, I think if it was the last second play or something like that, maybe more. But you really think the NBA is going to tell two teams to travel again and play a game and put on a suit and open up the arena and bring in fans for 7 minutes and 50 seconds? You're out of your mind, especially in the regular season when, let's be honest, it does not really matter.
Yeah.
I don't see this game mattering. If it does, then maybe that's something to talk about down the road. But I said it was stupid when it happened. It's stupid that the Rockets actually filed a protest and caused the NBA to step in and say no. I mean, it's dumb. I mean, I don't know. I can't believe someone's thinking 7 minutes and 50 seconds in basketball could be replayed when there was so much that had to go on in 7 minutes and 50 seconds that you're looking at one basket taken away all the time due to bad calls, due to whatever, due to 5 seconds in the paint, shot clocks, like mistakes left, right, and center. So get over it. I'm glad the NBA stood up and said no.
Yeah, I agree 100%. They weren't going to really be able to do much about it. Like you say, the NBA, unfortunately, and as we talk about trying to find stories every week, is almost always set already. Who's going to make it in the playoffs? Maybe some bubble guys at the middle, maybe a change there, but they won't have any impact in the playoffs. So the NBA, unfortunately, regular season is almost a waste of time. Well, looking at those feature stories, though, Joey, a couple nights ago, a historic matchup with LeBron and Carmelo Anthony coming through at the same time into the NBA world. It's actually interesting. They talk about 20 years ago, they attended the same sort of elite camp.
High school camp at the end of the year.
High school players,
at the end of the year in high school, they have the All-Americans, McDonald's All-Americans.
Yeah.
They've been doing it for a while now. They were there together. And here they were playing again under weird circumstances with Carmelo being out all year up until this point. It's obviously very cool. I know it's really cool to see every sport's getting older, really, with their players. Football, obviously, you've seen a couple quarterbacks go older. You've seen someone like Frank Gore at the running back position be older. You've seen a lot of kickers be really old. And now in the NBA, you're seeing it more and more often. LeBron has kind of led a charge of taking care of your body maybe a different way than basketball players used to, obviously, because just back then they didn't think about it as much. Carmelo Anthony can play. I think the exaggeration of him not playing was a little much for me, only because it's not like it was LeBron sitting out. I mean, Carmelo Anthony's a very good player, but you have to adapt and be in a right situation at his age, and I think the time off probably helped him do that, helped his body get really, really healthy. He's looking good right now, and obviously that was a cool moment between the two of them. And though I don't know how often they'll see each other, obviously being the Western Conference, play a couple more games, maybe a playoff series with Portland could easily be an 8-seed type team. That'd be very interesting. Portland has guaranteed Carmelo's contract right now, so that means obviously he's played well enough for them to think he's going to be valuable down the stretch for them. And I don't disagree with that. I think The time off, kind of like LeBron this year. We said it before. Him missing the playoffs was like such a gift.
Yeah, it's been 9 straight years.
And I think without Carmelo really knowing it, the time off for him was such a gift. He really had to put in work, really got healthy, really got freshened up, probably missed the game more than ever. That's the biggest thing you hear about guys who have played so long is how do you get motivated to maybe change, maybe find a role, maybe, put in more work, whatever, because he played it for so long. He made so much money. And Carmelo Anthony's wife's an actress too, so that's obviously not the issue. So I think the time off probably helped him more. Change his game, understand he needs to become a role player, not be the old Carmelo Anthony. And obviously his body probably felt so great, so rested, and he's all fresh, ready to go. So, we'll see what he does throughout the rest of the season. I think it's very cool. I think you could see a playoff series between these two teams, which is probably fun for them as friends. And obviously a great moment, but it's showing how athletes are now adapting to time and using it to their advantage and being able to play a lot longer with health and food and special trainers and a body guy and a cook to cook food that tastes good even though it's healthy. Like all this great stuff, they're really putting it to work, and they're being able to make these older generational players last a lot longer and not just be bad but be good. So
yeah, I think it's great. I feel bad for Carmelo Anthony, actually, the fact he came out at the exact same time LeBron did. Probably a player that, because he was under that cloud of LeBron, was tough to come out and be the superstar he might have been. He obviously was a great basketball player, but LeBron took all the interest from the day he stepped on the court. Carmelo Anthony was right there stepping on the court at the same time. Was really difficult for him to really establish himself.
Well, unfortunately, every player during the LeBron era will be obviously a little less than what they could have been in their own era, but you kind of get that. You kind of get that a little bit in most eras. There's an era of Steve Nash, Kobe Bryant, Shaq. There's always other players around. There's no doubt LeBron's the best. Carmelo Anthony's career really hurt because he went to the Knicks and couldn't really get him anywhere. Right. So his always thing is, D-Wade was also that time. Chris Bosh was that time. But they all ganged up to win a couple championships together. So it's a little different than Carmelo Anthony, who was really, really held out of the big three at that time. He never really went to a team. They never came to him. And he really got... It was a sacrificial lamb really in the Knicks, and that's probably the biggest thing about his career that will always be remembered, is he went to the sorry Knicks, got him to playoffs a couple times, but never really flourished that team to anything. So, unfortunately, he's always going to be lost by LeBron to begin with, but he'll always be remembered for being on that sorry Knicks team and them not bringing anyone in, and him not leaving to go join his brothers, his boys, his best friends. In Miami, which I'm sure he probably got a phone call about when they decided to do all that. So that's probably the biggest thing about his career is he kind of stayed in the city because of the city.
He lives in the city too long,
because it's New York City, he stayed there. I know his wife's an actress there, so all that probably played into his career more than others. But that's where he's always going to be kind of below the rest of them in that draft class that was obviously phenomenal when they got drafted together.
Certainly one of the best in history, without a doubt. Hey, we got another story here. We talked on the last show about how people talk about basketball and talk about timeouts at the end of games and all this kind of stuff. I tell you, you just cannot beat basketball for excitement at the end of games. Here we were again this past week with the Thunder and the Wolves. 1.1 second left on the clock. Free throws in play. The free throw was supposed to be missed so that they would be able to run the clock out, and it goes around the rim, drops in. The ball drops in. They take a Hail Mary pass all the way down to tie the game up and send it in overtime in 1.1 seconds. There's literally no other sport that much can happen 1.1 second on the clock.
Well, there's a couple crazy finishes. Yeah. I mean, Miami was down by 5 with 59 seconds, went on a 22-0 run.
Yeah.
Basketball's always been great for that. I love it. And anytime someone bitches, I just go, hey, look at football. They kneel at the 2-minute mark and the game's over.
Yeah.
So
I was another one of them this week.
I love basketball for this reason. Obviously, this one was kind of funny with Chris Paul ratting out the guy on the other team for not tucking in his jersey.
That's the timeout. That's interesting. I would mention that. I didn't even know that was a rule.
Well, and it's a penalty.
And it's a penalty, right?
So, it's funny. I mean, it's funny. Chris Paul's getting a little funny in his older years here. He's done a couple rule things to some of these players, which has been hilarious. But that one was certainly funny. I mean,
and it cost them in the end.
Right? Yeah, I know. So, no, they won in that. He was on the team.
No, not him.
Oh, I know. I know.
It's
hilarious. It's great that he did that. It actually worked. But yeah, it was pretty funny. Anyways, yeah, we always defend the NBA and their timeouts because they always give us great finishes. And anytime I watch football, I think, man, I wish they had more timeouts.
Yeah, for sure. I think it's so
or stop
time. We know it from hockey.
We said it all the time. Just
obviously,
stop time.
If you're a new watcher, we're from Toronto, Canada. Hockey in Canada is our number one sport. They have stop time all the time. You don't need timeouts and all that other crap. It's always stop time. You never lose a second of the game. And basketball covers that with timeouts because they are fluid motion and don't have stop time most of the game. So they need the timeouts to do stoppage of the clock. But just amazing finishes on a regular basis in basketball. That's why we love the end of the game. Contrary to most of the people we talk to who don't like it because of all the timeouts. But they can create some amazing finishes by doing that. Hey, listen, maybe an important change going to happen here. Cavaliers ready to talk about Kevin Love. That could change a lot of the playoff prospects if they make a deal.
Yeah, I mean, obviously a playoff team getting someone like him would be a deal. He wants to go to Portland, which is where Carmelo Anthony went, and they're a team desperate of someone like this. They need a bit of a shake-up. You know, they have a good duo in McCollum and Lillard, and then added Anthony, a veteran status, added him. That'd be very impressive. Definitely a playoff team at that point. Maybe the 5th or 6th seed, and that would be something interesting to watch going forward if that trade gets done.
But could change the playoffs dramatically.
It could depend on where he goes.
Maybe not where they finish, but what they
you
could
think
do
of
in
LA.
the playoffs.
You think of LA if they added him. I mean, you know, Cleveland's a team right now, obviously rebuilding. So LA's got a few youngsters. If LeBron said, "I'd rather trade your future for a big three right now to win you a couple championships," that would obviously be something. You know, he can go to so many teams and make a difference. It would be something. I know he wants to go to West Coast, so they're probably gonna respect that. Obviously, he's the last one left of the Cleveland era, which was Kyrie, him, and LeBron. So I think they'll respect his wishes and send him out somewhere warm to the West Coast. Obviously, that's where he's from. He's born in Portland. That's why that was brought up.
Right.
But definitely.
And having lived on the West Coast yourself, Portland's an awesome city. Right on the coast there. It's a really nice city.
Compared to Cleveland.
Yeah,
like,
so I mean, obviously he would enjoy that move back. And it would be nice to see him go there. Because, if he went to LA, the championship's over. I mean, just give it to him.
If he went to LA, championship's over. If he goes to Portland and it just adds another fuel to the fire, which is really cool. Probably give you maybe four or five teams that are very good in the Western Conference. Could create some unbelievable playoff series. Might knock out the team we all think will win
the
Lakers or the Clippers. So I'd like to see him go to Portland for the league. I think he'll try to demand his best to go to Portland. That's his hometown. He wants to go there. He said he wants to go there. And I think Cleveland will respect that. And he's a player that would ask a decent price, but hopefully nothing ridiculous, and they should be able to go get him, and they could use him right now for sure.
And almost any team that's that close would be willing to give up the draft picks Cleveland's looking for to get a player.
That's the key, is giving up the
right?
picks. It's not, you don't want to give up any players if you're Portland, but if they'll take a couple picks, it should only take maybe one first and a second, or maybe a couple seconds and a third, like depending on how big you want to go. I definitely think if you give up a first and a second or something like that, I don't see how Cleveland turns that down.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Listen, we hate to finish the show on a sad note, but Rodney Hood picking up an Achilles.
Speaking of Portland again, I mean, this might as well be the Portland NBA show. I mean, my God, talk about a busy kind of week for them. Yeah, Rodney Hood, it's sad to see him go because his career's really blossomed there in Portland after being in Cleveland. So, obviously a young player doing really good last year in the playoffs. Like I said, kind of got away from Cleveland, where he was kind of picked apart by being a teammate of LeBron. People were expecting him probably to be more there. Came out to Portland, had a good year last year, had a good year this year. I really like him. I think he's becoming the third best player on that team until this injury. So obviously very sad, and I can't imagine having an injury like that. I've never had an injury like that, but the pain you see these guys in, and they're tough guys, obviously. I mean, it looks awful. It really does, and that's a tough injury, and he's out for the season. Out for a long time with an Achilles tendon. Yeah. I mean, he's happy to probably come back for the playoffs.
We've seen what happens. It is probably a year, even if
I'm pretty sure
playoffs,
that's what Kevin Durant, I believe. Yeah, and he's out for a year. So I mean, it's sad. I mean, in basketball, it's so harmless. It really is. So it's interesting.
Well, and it happens so easily to them because of their size, obviously, and the pressure that's put on their legs and those kinds of things. So anyway, unfortunate to see there in Portland. Would be interesting to see if Kevin Love does end up there. That obviously replaces, and probably more than replaces Hood. That would be big for Portland. So, hey, there you go. That's the stories in the NBA. No point talking about many games. There's no surprises right now. The playoff teams are exactly who we expected them to be.
The NBA's wondering why their TV's going down.
Yeah, there's just no reason to watch lots of games. We know the results of these, but there's lots of great stories in the NBA. So we'll look forward to talking to you next Wednesday on the NBA show back here from the ultimatesportschannel.com. We'll enjoy seeing you then.